Akitavach. So I'll tell you, Maisa, it was customary for the Baal Shem Tov once in a while, before Shabbos, to go into the Beis Medrash and handpick a few Chassidim and tell them, we're going to go somewhere for Shabbos. We're going on a trip. Where are we going, Rebbe? I have no idea. Mineh Shemaim, the Baal Shem Tov somehow got information that he has to be somewhere for Shabbos. And he'll end up where he needs to end up. So that's what happened. There's one Friday afternoon, the Baal Shem Tov goes and gathers a few Chassidim and says, okay, we're going away for Shabbos. Okay, fine. So they get into the wagon. The wagon's going. They ask the Baal Shem Tov, where are we going, Rebbe? I don't know. We're going to see where we end up. So they pass from shtetl to shtetl, till eventually they get to a particular location, and they're riding through the shtetl, and they pass by a particular house. Baal Shem Tov tells the wagon driver to stop. He stopped. And after a minute or so, the Baal Shem Tov says, I don't know why we're supposed to be here, but it was revealed to me from Shemayim, this is where we have to be for Shabbos. Okay, fine. So they get out of the wagon, they go to the front door, knock on the door, and after a minute or so, the Baal Bus opens the door, and you can tell right away when he opens the door, he's frazzled, he's distracted, there's something going on in the house. So he opens the door, good Erev Shabbos, what can I do for you? So the Baal Shem Tov says, my name is Yisrael, these are my chaver, my friends, we want to stay with you for Shabbos. So he's like, let me find out if this is okay, whatever. So he goes back inside. After a minute or so, comes back out and he says, I'll be honest with you, it's a little bit hard for us to have you for Shabbos. Any other week, we'd be more than happy to have you. This Shabbos in particular is a little bit difficult, but I'll set you up with people in the neighborhood. We'll make sure you have meals, we'll take care of it, but it's a little bit too hard, this Shabbos by us. And the Baal Shem Tov said, no, we're gonna stay with you for Shabbos. So he's like, really, I'll make sure you have good accommodations. It's not going to be an issue. I'll get you a nicer house than mine. It'll be fine. And the Baal Shem Tov was like, no, we're going to stay with you for Shabbos. And he's like, listen, I'll be honest with you. The reason why it's going to be hard for us is because, unfortunately, Lolenu, my son is sick. He says just a few days ago, my son became very, very sick. And it's very stressful in the home, and there's a lot going on. So I'm sure you understand. And the Baal Shem Tov said, no, we're here for Shabbos. Baal Shem Tov turns around to his Chassidim and says, you see why we're supposed to be for Shabbos. You have to bring Yeshua to this family. So the Baal Bus realizes very quickly that he doesn't really have much of a choice over here. And he also begins to realize, after just a few minutes, that this Yid is a special tzaddik. This is not a special person. He doesn't know that it's Baal Shem, but... So the Baal Shem Tov and his Chassidim come into the house. They begin to set up themselves, arranging things for Shabbos. And the wife is a little sensitive, and the wife also realizes that this is a holy Jew. And so as they're preparing for Shabbos that afternoon, it becomes more and more apparent to the couple that the Baal Shem Tov and his Chassidim these are big Tzadikim. So the Baal Shem Tov, before Shabbos, turns to the husband, and he says, listen, Bez Hashem, I'm here. I'm confident the Rebbeinu Shalom sent me here in order to bring Yeshua to your son, with God's help. So this is what needs to happen. Before we daven, before we make Kiddush, I need to spend some time with your son in the room. I'm going to do what I can do over there. And when I'm done, I'll knock on the door, I'll open the door, and we'll make Kiddush. But don't make Kiddush until I'm ready. Fine? So Baal Shem Tov goes into the room, the kid's unconscious. He's like going to call me, he's out. The doctors already have given up. So the Baal Shem Tov is in there, closes the door, and immediately, the guy standing by the door, immediately they start to hear the Baal Shem Tov crying and say, Tillim, this big avodas. And he's going like this for 15 minutes, a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. It's getting very, very late already Friday night. And still crying, b'chiyas and Tillim. At some point, there's silence in the room. The Tzvi, who was the guy of the Baal Shem, hears that the room is quiet now. And after about 10 minutes of silence, the Baal Shem Tov gives out a scream and he says, I'm being mashbiah you. I'm making you take an oath. And he says out the name of the son, the name of the boy. He says, I'm being mashbiah you. I'm making you take an oath that you should, that the neshama should enter into the body, that the neshama should come back into the body. Clearly, it was mamash holding by Lolenu, by the son not being well, and the Baal Shem Tov had to force the neshama back in through the power of an oath. And so after the Baal Shem Tov says that, then they begin to hear the boy begin to cry, And slowly but surely, after a few minutes, the crying is stronger. The boy seems to be getting stronger and getting back to himself. And so, after hearing this, Tzvi begins to open the door because he figures, okay, Baruch Hashem, like everything's going to be okay. He opens the door and he sees the boy's crying on the bed. He's, still like half asleep, but he's slowly but surely waking up. And the Baal Shem Tov is flat on the floor. And he was taken aback, the Gabbai, by seeing that. And he hears the Baal Shem Tov saying over and over and over again while he's flat on the floor, it's Taka Kedai. It's really worth it. It's still worth it. It's Taka Kedai. So he sees that, he just backs up, closes the door. And about 10 or 15 minutes later, finally the Baal Shem Tov knocks on the door, opens the door, and he says, okay, get wine for Kiddush. And the mother comes in, takes her son. So a little bit later on that night, Tzvi asked the Baal Shem Tov, Rebbe, what was going on over there? I understand, obviously the Rebbe was Poel Yeshua, somehow you made an oath, but what was this in you being on the floor and saying it's Kedai? Like, what was that? So Baal Shem Tov said like this, he said, listen, when I went into the room and I saw the boy, it was a big problem. It was a serious issue. So I had to spend a lot of time davening, and I was trying to use my davening and to affect things. It wasn't happening. I was hitting a brick wall. So finally, the only thing I can do was to use the power of an oath and to be mashbiah, to force the soul of the boy into his body using the power of an oath. But the Baal Shem Tov said, but the problem is, I know that's against the rules. I'm not supposed to do that. And I knew that by doing that, it'll work, but it's against the rules and I'll be punished. And so that's what happened. I made the oath, the boy got better, but because of that, I was obligated to get malchus, to get lashes in Shemayim. So that's why I was on the floor, I was receiving my punishment. But as I was receiving my punishment, I was saying over and over again, it's Kedai, it's totally Kedai. In order to bring Yeshua for a Jewish neshama, to save the family from heartache, to give a Jewish soul the opportunity for 120 years to do mitzvahs and to say Amen Yesh Mirabah and to learn Torah and so on and so forth, to be part of the world, I'll take all the punishments in the world. It's totally Kedai, totally Kedai, totally Kedai. And so that's what you see from the unbelievable thing from the Baal Shem Tov, that a tzaddik like that, we were able to figure out what the nakuda, what's the essence of what God wants of us, what gives Rebbeinu Shalom most nachas. And the answer is helping Yidden. That's at the end of the day what it's about. Doing whatever we can to help another Yid, to be mechazik another Yid in their Yiddishkeit, to be mechazik them in this world, in begashmis or beruchnias. And for the Baal Shem Tov, in this particular case, it brought him punishment and sorrows. But for the most part, that's a unique situation. Most times when you help another Yid, it gives you brachas and it gives you good things. So Hashem should bless us that we should be to only be in a position of helping and never needing that help, and only receive brachas in a way of agli dai. We should to have a lichtige week, a week of Yeshuas and a chamas and brachas, agli dai, biaskot, so the barachim,